this week's episode of Pickles and
Pasta with Steph.
Jay. Pasta.
Always
Pasta's over.
mess me up in this intro.
I know it's one of my favorite things I get to do
Yeah,
all week. I know,
so
but the
funny.
pasta just was exploding this week. I just felt that it was boiling over, and I thought
Yeah.
that's my favorite kind of pasta, boiling over pasta.
Then it's not al dente. That's
I
no
know,
good.
but I know. You can't have everything in life, babe. You
Yeah,
can't
well,
have.
I like my al dente pasta when I have pasta.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah,
I understand that. Well, you are Italian. I mean, you know how to do it.
I
It's
do.
not what do Americans do? They throw the spaghetti at the wall or something? Is it like they really do that?
I don't know. I've never thrown spaghetti at the wall.
Someone told me that once. Somebody from
If it
where
sticks,
were
then
they?
it's
They
cooked
were from
properly.
somewhere like in the middle of the country or west somewhere, and they were like, well, the way you can tell if your pasta's ready is you take a piece of spaghetti and you throw it at the wall. I was like, why would you want to throw spaghetti at the wall? I mean, I get the expression. I
Yeah,
don't get the actual thing of doing it. Like I think
yeah.
that's
My
like
memory of cooking pasta, because we used to eat a lot more pasta. I mean, my mom still cooks a lot of pasta.
yes, she
But
does.
growing up, when the pasta was cooking, my dad would be standing near it, stirring it, and then he'd pull one couple out. He liked rigatoni, I think that was his favorite. And he would say, "Come here, test the pasta." And we'd say, "Well, it's got another minute." And that was like such a vivid memory.
It's so cute.
Yep.
Wow, that's neat. Okay, cool. Oh,
Yeah.
you get teary eyed. You
I
can't
know, I
even.
get a little teary eyed.
I understand that. I think that's really cute. I mean, yeah, it's kind of one of those things that parents do that it's kind of neat and also like, wait, that's boiling pasta. Why would you let the child eat that?
Well, I wasn't a child, I was an adult. You know,
Oh,
I never was asked if the pasta was ready when I was a child.
Did
You had to
you
be
did
this
you
person.
notice did you notice talking about children earlier when we were waiting? We took the bus earlier today and we paid like
You
good
do, you
Americans,
pay.
like good citizens. We paid our share, our fare, and that guy with the two little kids that was just letting the little boy just run all over the place, and I was like, someone could just steal that kid. Like, or they could or they could just run into the street. Like one of those two things. I mean, I know that's maybe like being such a New Yorker, although kids get stolen all over the world, unfortunately. But I was just like, I don't understand how this is possible. Like, I don't understand how. It was blowing me away. I'm not saying you got to hold on to your child like
Yeah.
this, but I mean, the kid was literally like at one point he like called her. He's like, "Don't go!" He's like, the kid's like, "Why?" He's like, well, "I didn't know where you were." Like,
Well, I didn't even notice this child you're talking about. I don't know
babe,
what it
babe,
was.
I noticed what was going around the corner that I wasn't even there. Okay, that's the difference between us. Okay, but yeah, that bus ride was like that one back was like. So we were in one of those double buses. If you haven't been to New York, or if you're not from New York, you haven't been to New York in a while. We have these new, not that new, these like double buses. So like they're connected in the middle, like an accordion kind of thing. So you could walk all the way through, but it's like a double bus. It's a double length bus. And usually the drivers drive, fairly straight, and they're I don't know, considerate or whatever when they have to switch lanes. This guy, I think it was a guy. I don't remember it actually now. I don't mean to be sexist or whatever. Don't sue me. I think it was a guy. The woman that took us there was definitely a woman. She was very nice, and we both said thank you. And she said thank you. I remember that. I noticed that. She was very nice. Make sure to be nice to these people. They work hard for us. I appreciate it. I'm pretty sure this was a guy. Anyway, he went and switched lanes and switched lanes. Remember when I like went flying
Oh
and
yeah.
and it was like first I was like, well, shit, I'm in such bad shape. I'm flying on the bus. Like I can't even stand up. Like I'm in such bad shape. But then I looked over and there was that girl who was like maybe 20 on a bet. She was 20 and she went flying too. So I was like, okay, it's not in that bad a shape. This was the entire bus went flying. So which
Yeah.
actually now
Well,
I'm telling
probably
you,
because it's a double bus.
which means he should be doubly careful.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, which he wasn't. Which reminds me of a story, and then I'm going to end. Not going to end the episode. I'm going to end talking about me. Reminds me of one of my favorite, not favorite stories as a child. I might lose it here, so be ready. So we were on the school bus. I was really a child. I was very young, and I was pretty short. As not that I'm fucking, Shaq now, but I was definitely shorter as a child. And the bus driver was like screaming at us. This was in yeshiva, and he was like, "Sit down, everybody, get in your seats." And not that he was mean or anything. It was his job, right? Like we're supposed to
Yeah.
sit in our seats. And of course, I'm not going to listen to him. Like, I mean, who do you think you're dealing with here? So I'm like standing and I'm joking around, and all my friends are laughing, and I'm being like a real smart ass, whatever. And then he stops short. I don't know if he did it on purpose or if it just happened. He stopped short. I went flying.
He probably did it on purpose to teach you a lesson.
I
And
went
it went
flying
for it.
and slid. I slid right up to him. Oh my goodness, that's one of my favorite memories. I'm losing. We might have to cut this episode, but yeah. Oh my god, I'd never forget. I went sliding on my knees like all the way up to the front of the bus, and he looked at me and he's like,
That's
"You gonna
almost
sit down?"
something out of a comedy movie.
Oh my goodness, he was like, "You gonna sit down now?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm good."
So he
Um,
did do it on purpose.
he didn't do it. Nothing. They did. Nobody did anything to me. The worst thing they did to me was the best thing they did to me. They kicked me out of high school. Um, anyway, on that note, we'll have to do trains, planes, and automobiles next episode. We'll get to some other stories there. So we were thinking about, as we think about these episodes, like what to talk about, and we're trying something a little bit new today, where we were thinking and talking about something that's obviously relevant to us that we're affected by and how we feel people in our worlds, immediate and beyond are affected by. And we came up with this topic, which I think is very, very relevant, that Steph actually really thought about, which is what are we lacking as a society? Like what is going on that all these crazy things are happening in throughout the universe. Like wherever you turn, there's like a lot of stuff. And I don't know, Steph, if you want to start or if you want me to kind of jump in a little bit, but where the first part of this whole idea or topic is, you know, why do so many people fall for these really bad players? Like across whatever that may be, right? It could be a politician, it could be influencer, it could be a CEO, a company, whatever. Like what is going on that is making that happen? And that's kind of something we were kind of talking about and kind of want to share and get into a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great topic. I think it's really relevant. It's like I was walking around last week and it just kind of, this whole concept came to me like, what is really going on that, you know, people that we've known for a long time have slowly kind of formed these new ideas that are confusing to me, honestly. And I'm just like, it just made me wonder there's got to be something happening in the world that is creating the right atmosphere for people to be, I don't know, following, certain people, whether it's, an influencer or it's a politician or it's some other type of public figure. And, I'm just wondering if people are feeling so vulnerable and detached that it's making the conditions ripe for following maybe people who are just really loud, and maybe because there's so much loudness out there in media that right away I think people think, oh well, they're saying it and they're saying it so loudly and so forcefully that they must be right. And I'm just curious about, like, the nuances around why this is happening right now.
Yeah. So I remember when we were talking about this, and I was telling you there's a psychological term for it. I think it's called authority bias, where people just follow people that sound confident. Like it doesn't matter what they say. Like it literally doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter if it aligns with that person. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It doesn't matter. If someone says something with authority, convincingly, people are like, oh, look, it must be true. Look how confident they are. And there's also this. There's a lot of different things around that, and it goes to the question of like, okay, where does it come from, right? Because if you're confident in yourself and you're confident in your surroundings, and like what you know, and you know that you're whatever you studied or whatever, you know how to do research, whatever, you're not going to buy into when someone says something that's just absolutely wrong, or totally contrary to what you believe in your heart or what you know to be fact, right? If someone, it's like a sunny day today. If someone told me, "Did you see the snow outside?" I'd be like, "What, are you crazy?" Like this, and they would say, "No, no, it's snowing. I saw it. I was outside. Look, check my boots. It's 6 feet of snow. There's never been anything like this in New York." I'm not going to be like, "Oh my God, it's snowing." Like I'm not going to believe that because I know 100% I'm not going to believe that. But I'm not looking either. And I think there's part of that, right? Like that there's a lot of people that are just very confused. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I think there's good reason for confusion. I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
there's people that feel they don't belong. They don't know where they belong in the world.
Yeah.
They have, right. I mean, right. I mean, we know people that are like they're
Absolutely.
good people.
Yeah.
They're not bad people, but they just feel lost. They feel I don't have. People say that's my tribe, or what you think about these things go back, right? Like you can, I mean, as you're saying it, and as we were reading this and talking about this and thinking about these topics, like this goes back tribally, right? Like back, like when people didn't have homes and lived in tents or in little. There was the person who spoke the loudest, and that was the leader. Like,
Yeah.
and then they would go along, like, we're gonna go here. Like, well, but there's no water there. Like, we're gonna die. Like, no, I'm so right, and we're gonna go, and then they die. It's an interesting thing of like how with all of this history that we can get to this place where people are feeling like this
Yeah. I also think that people are very disconnected from each other. And
individually, like person
yeah,
to
I think there's a lot of general disconnection. And that breeds a lot of loneliness.
So do you
And
mean, hold on, sorry, I want to understand this better from your perspective. So when you say disconnection, do you mean from here, do you mean disconnection like, okay, not physically in the same place, or disconnection like there's somebody who you think you're friends with, but you're like not aligned? Like what the disconnection, is it physical or is it more, mental or
I think
emotional?
it's both.
Okay.
When I'm saying it, I'm kind of meaning it in an all encompassing kind of
Okay.
way.
Okay.
We're all like individuals trying to do our thing.
Uh-huh.
And maybe a little bit of this stems back to around COVID. I think that really exacerbated the situation because remote work became a thing. We were, in quarantine, so we were alone in our homes, really. And then it became like the norm that you can still work, but you're working out of your apartment or your house, and you're not going to, a physical office. And I think that even though we've gotten out of that, a lot of people kind of still have a little bit of that mentality is still kind of there a little bit. I know there's been
Even
a
when
lot
they're
of
in the office
events.
together. Even when they're together.
Yeah, I think that there's still this like disconnect. And I mean, I have spoken to many people about this, and there definitely is like this difference. There's like a loneliness associated with, a lot of people. And I think then adding on top of that, the disconnect between just Americans, how there's, you know, a lot, it seems to be there's Democrats and there's Republicans in the political spectrum. And there's less talk about being an American. So even the talk is a little disconnecting. You know, here we are part of the country, but most people only refer to you if you're a Democrat or a Republican. And so the disconnect, I think, is kind of spreading more. And then adding on top of that, any type of economic insecurity, which is it's just a fact. I mean, you know, people are feeling hopeless in a lot of cases. And I think when you are vulnerable from all of those negative um, situations, I think you are looking for something, and you know, you can fall prey to someone who's addressing your loneliness or the disconnect or financial stability, and anyone who is then using those that subject matter and saying I can solve this for you. I think that's what's getting people to look at whoever they are, whether an influencer, a politician, or anybody in power. And I think it's causing our country to follow people who really don't have everyone's best interest at heart.
That's very cultish, right? I mean, that's a cult. That's how cults survive, right? Like they go after people that are not doing so well, not feeling so well. You know, the man got them down, and whatever it is, and they say, no, you'll be part of our family. You'll be part of this thing, and then you're in a cult. Like, and it's not just cults. It's what we're saying, I guess, is that this is way beyond just these little cults. This has become this is actually a thing. Like there's people that become friends with people because, well, I've got to be friends with somebody. Like I don't want to just live alone, you know, and have whatever 10 cats. Like I want to have community. I want to have this, and there's they don't even know half the time what they're aligning with, right? They don't.
Yeah.
They're hearing these things, and these people sound all confident, or they don't want to be left out, right? They don't want to be left out of the friend group. Like again, and I say this goes back, right? Like I mean, we had it a little bit differently when I went to school, but like, you know, there's the cool kids table, you know, at lunch, right? And you wanted to have that, and it's all these different things, and it's like we keep going back and doing these things, and it's just why is it kind of happening right now? Like, what do we have to do collectively to kind of get through this so that that there isn't this thing because okay, whatever's going on now, we'll fix it, but then it's gonna happen again if we don't really, really get to the core of why is it happening right now? Like, what is this big thing? Because you can't just blame this politician. That no, it's not one little
Yeah,
thing.
it's not blaming one person or one thing. I mean, I think there is a real craving for some kind of identity and belonging. So I think that's why, like, just as the mayoral election in New York, you know, on social media, I saw, you know, different girls, you know, posting for Mandami and different girls posting for Cuomo, and they're like hot girls for Mandami, cool girls for Cuomo, and it's like it's about all these groups. What group are you part of? And you want to be part of a group. It's like, I mean, I'm not a person who I'm not into like that kind of stuff. So like I never seem to like align with the big popular group. I kind of like to learn more about things before I feed into an ideology. I
You're
mean,
not a follower, right?
I'm terrible at being a follower.
Yeah, you're not a follower. You know, I'm the same. I mean, like I'm. It's not my thing. I didn't follow. I did what I did because I wanted to do it, and there were other people that did it too. That's fine. But I wasn't following thing. I don't follow trends. I don't follow. Oh, I do things. People are like, oh, that's cool, or that's not cool. Like whatever. I don't care. Like you know, in anything. Like I don't do the follow thing, and you don't do the follow thing. Like it's not your
Yeah,
thing.
and I'm not like putting anybody down who like feels the need to be part of a group. You know, like I've
Sure.
been part of groups. I mean, I just
Sure.
joined a
Yeah.
group today. So it's not so much the joining of a group, but I think it's the the buying into something when you're vulnerable. I think that's where you can kind of get into something that really isn't serving you.
That's interesting, right? Because that's a part of it. Like you said, vulnerable, right? Like people are vulnerable, so they go join something.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
key, the key is to kind of see. One key, I think, is for us as society to see, like, hey, how do we get it so people aren't so vulnerable? Like, what can we do to catch it before someone gets so vulnerable? Like, or if they're born into a bad situation, how do we kind of navigate them out of that? Because the danger is far greater than whatever time we invest in solving it there. And if you're vulnerable, it's logical you potentially, you're prey. You're easy prey for a
Yeah.
bad player. So whether it's a bad politician, but whatever it is, it could be anything. It just could be an influencer. They could start following some influencer, and then they start whatever it is, doing their makeup or dressing a certain way, or doing their hair a certain way, or eating a certain food, or new diet. Like well, based on what? Like you didn't do research. You just like, oh, my friend said this, or this one's popular, and if I do what this popular person says, then I'll be popular. Like it's you
Yeah.
just go
And then
around in
you like
circles.
lose yourself.
Yeah,
Like if you're doing something just because you see somebody doing it who has like a lot of followers, like that's the wrong reason to do something, obviously. And
for
then
sure.
you go down this whole rabbit hole of doing things that aren't really you. I feel like people need to get in touch with who they are and maybe calm down a little bit
Yeah.
so they can kind of assess, is this something that I want to follow, and not just follow it for the sake of feeling like you're part of something.
Right. Well, there's false promises, right? They hear something and then they believe that's going to be true, and eat this thing and you're going to look like me, and like, no, you're not. Like, you're not. So it's a yeah, it's a very weird thing, and the thing is, it's not so much that it's happening because it's happened historically. Like this is
Hmm.
not a new phenomenon.
No.
New phenomenon is how it's now. They're the people that are manipulating this have been able to figure out how to make it scale. Like that's the part. The part. I mean, I remember seeing this like early on when the protests were here in the city, and we do our best not to get too political here, but there were the protests that were going on, whatever you want to think. And I remember seeing it, and there were these people screaming and saying really, really, really nasty things. And there was this girl in the crowd who didn't look like anybody else in the crowd.
Hmm.
And I'm not trying to be mean, but she looked like what you think of when you think of like a typical Midwest, like kind of girl, like this nice, not this, not that,
Also, like a
nice,
wholesome,
like a
not,
wholesome, nice, what you call an American girl, like
yeah.
whatever you think of that. Like she just looked like that kind of person. And you could see her because she just stood out in the crowd. And you could see her eyes being like, I don't even know what they're talking about. Like you could clearly tell. It's not like she learned about what the protest was, what they were talking about, why they were upset. And she's like, I feel their pain. I'm going to support these people. It wasn't
Mhm.
that. It wasn't that at all. She really looked like she just felt she had to be there because she was lonely or she didn't belong to any other group. So she joined this group, which that's just, these are all the wrong reasons. There's things like parents tell you and you're going to be careful. But like, I think there's a lot of that happening that, they join a group or they join a political party or they join a club where they don't know. And it's like, we've lost this whole critical thinking, idea. I saw some comedian doing something about it the other day, which is a hilarious joke about critical thinking. But it's really true. It's like we don't, we just go look it up we just go search it, either on ChatGPT or on Google or on Gemini or on whatever, on Claude. It doesn't matter. We just look it. And we're like, yeah, that's the answer. Period. Like,
Hmm.
full stop. And it's like, we're missing that whole part, and I think that's part of where it comes from. Someone who is vulnerable, right? And they hear something, and then you know,
Well, to that whole point, I think what else is happening that is making the discussion kind of less, which is really one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, because I wanted to be able to talk and maybe talk about different ideas. So, like, if you're in a group of people and the majority of them are thinking one way and they're for one type of ideology, whatever it is, and you are kind of like, I'm not sure I feel like that, but you feel very intimidated to say how you feel because today you can't disagree with people because if you disagree, suddenly they hate you. And it's like, wait, how did it go from like we've known each other forever? Maybe we don't think eye to eye on every single thing that you can think, but that shouldn't make it so that we can't like hang out and do things and be friends.
Right.
And that's the way it used to be. But today, if I don't agree 100% with, you know, people that are thinking something different, I now am intimidated to say, well, I
Yeah.
don't believe that because you're going to get attacked or you're going to be canceled or you're not going to be liked. And I think that is also contributing to people not really saying what they really think because they're afraid. They want to belong. And this is where they're being invited to come part of this group. Come believe what we believe, and you'll have friends.
Yeah, I mean, as you're saying it, I'm thinking of like, how we've had that in sports like forever. But you used to be able to like one team or one player or another, and you still get along. And still, I mean, I don't drink beer, but the guys would go have a beer after the game anyway. It doesn't matter. Like you lost, I lost, whatever. And you can be like, oh, you suck or you suck, whatever. But that was the end of it. It wasn't like, it wasn't like that. I mean, look, like whatever. I'm a Cowboys fan. We know people that are not Cowboys fans, and they'll be like aggressively with me about it. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, okay, like I'm a fan of a team that doesn't even know how to tie their shoelaces anymore. Okay, so let alone play football. So
Yeah,
you know, you're gonna make me feel worse. You can't make me feel worse because they're gonna play again on Sunday and they're gonna make me feel worse. So what
yeah.
you've got is nothing, but I'm not affected, right? Like, I don't care. If someone disagrees with me, I just don't care. Like, it's your choice. Like, if you want to have a conversation, great. If you have some information that I don't have, I'm happy to change my opinion. I'm happy to learn. I want to be better. I want to grow. But I don't care if you don't agree with me. Like, it's fine. Don't agree with me. Like, just calm yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
it would just be nice if the temperature came down a little bit around people disagreeing with people. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's okay.
yeah, look, there was, if you talk about it like from a political standpoint, there was a time, certainly in this country, that, people crossed the aisle. Like they would just be like, hey, we're putting this bill through, be like, oh, we don't like that bill. We're putting this bill through. Like, okay, well, how do we work this out? Like, I'm gonna argue with you on this one because there's no way I can't give you this one. Like my constituents don't want it. I don't like you, whatever. But you would work it out. Now it's like, oh, you said pink. I'm saying green. Like there's no conversation. Like it's
It
ridiculous.
would be really interesting to hear like, a group of people saying, well, I'm for this thing. And then someone's like, well, I'm not. Can you explain to me why you're for it? Well, okay, here's why. Can you explain to me why you're against it? And here's why. And imagine what if we listened to each other and maybe it would affect our actual conclusion. Maybe
That's
we would
crazy.
find that there's more things that we agree on than we don't, you
Oh,
know?
that's crazy talk. Why would we want to do that?
I know, that's crazy talk. But it feels like people are starved for meaning and validation. And it's almost like they'll buy into anyone who is offering that to them,
Yeah,
even if it's toxic.
yeah. It's you think about this like there's so many things that we've heard that are like really old sayings, like old sayings, and they're so applicable in this specific context. And it's incredible how as much as we grow and we have come with new technology and new systems and new this and new that, that some of the things that were taught and done many, 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 many years ago are still really the best things, right? Like you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself first. Like some of these things, which that
Yes.
one that one hasn't always worked. That's one of the ones that I don't totally buy into. But that's a whole other conversation that is not for this podcast. But there's a lot of these things that like, self care and about just all the different things that we've heard from like grandparents, great grandparents, what was done 1,000 years ago. They made so much sense, and then we just throw it out the window, and then we get into this craziness. It's interesting, but I think that the key is something is lacking from society. Like, we're talking about it now, in this first part of this about, whether it's politicians or influencers or whatever. But, there's a big lot of people that are moving towards different religions, right? Like
Yeah.
it's the same thing because it's a feeling of meaning. And I look, I know we have slightly different opinions about this,
Yes,
but
we.
I think that if someone gets something positive out of a religion and it's not, a negative thing, and it gives them peace and it gives them a feeling of comfort by praying to whoever they pray to, or by reading a book that they read, or listening to a sermon or a speech or whatever. And that makes you feel better, and that makes you be a better person and do good things. It's, God bless you, as they would say. Really.
I'm like, I don't disagree with you about that.
I know that. I know that.
I'm
I know that.
in disagreement about the rules that are inflicted upon
Totally get it.
religious
Totally
groups.
get it. And I come from an upbringing. Yeah, I come from an upbringing that was very, very strict. There was no gray area. There was no, certain things that were just not up for discussion. There certainly were, either rabbis or teachers that I had that were open for discussion. They were like, let's talk about this. Now, probably their goal was to try to ultimately get me to see what they wanted me to see. I get
Mhm.
that. That's a teacher's responsibility. And it's a rabbi's or a priest or an imam's responsibility. I get that. But there
Right.
was a conversation around it. Some of them, there was a conversation. But some of them, I was like, this is what it is. I would say, okay, well, I'm sure I believe you, but can you explain to me why? Some would be like, no, no, like it is because I said it is. It is because it's written here. And I was like, okay, I'm not arguing that, but I'd like a little knowledge about it. And not every teacher is skilled at doing that. But, you could say people join, a health club or a sports team club or an art club or a music club or whatever club, or they join a religious club like a synagogue or a church or a mosque or a group, or, there's people that do, religious groups, right? Like they don't necessarily go to a place, but they Bible talk, right? Like they weekly conversations. So I think people do that. So, it's, again, I think it comes. And listen, I'm all for it if it's not negative. I mean, I'm all for it if it's not I'm right, you're wrong. I'm gonna kill you if you don't do what I do. Like none of that shit. Like, but if you're just like, listen, it gives me something. Like I've spoken to people who are whatever the religion they are. They're like, yeah, I do this every day, and it grounds me. It makes me feel.
Mhm.
I give thanks. I ask for blessings for myself or for my loved ones or for this thing, or I feel when I do this, it makes me feel a certain good way. Good for you. Good for you. If it whatever you do, I think that's amazing. Really, I think that's fine. But I think it should come from this positive place, right? If it's coming from a negative place, because like I'm so disheveled, distraught, whatever. So I'm just going to run to the first one that'll take me. That goes back to like, we have to get to the core of that. We have to get to the core that somebody is in that place, that they're turning to, let's, something because of that emptiness. It's sad, really, when someone gets that low a level that they have no choice. And so some people choose something negative, some people choose something positive. But yeah, there's a lot of studies that say like there's a lot more people go into religion because of that.
Yeah, but that's the part that's actually confusing. I'm finding confusing.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I'm seeing this conversation going because, we're talking about what's happening in our society that so many people are being influenced by bad players. And I see religion coming into this conversation because there is the religion, just for me, what I grew up at was raised Catholic. I went to 12 years of Catholic school, sent my children to 12 years of Catholic school, And over the years, with my divorce, with actually seeing how people treated me and my children who were religious and not finding that to be kind or with empathy or with compassion. And I, found myself not wanting to be part of that anymore.
Sure.
And as this whole kind of new wave of like religion, I'm seeing religion being a strong part of the MAGA movement, for instance. And that confuses me, because it's not the kind, compassionate message of Jesus that when I think of Christianity, I think of what would Jesus do. And I find this newer, very popular movement towards religion to be a little disconcerting because it feels like it's fed more by fear and ego than the kindness and the compassion, that Jesus, you know, led as an example of.
Yeah, I mean, but that's I think that's our point. That's the same thing. Like that is not, and I don't want to get into it where people are going to yell at me and saying I'm saying something wrong about this religion or that religion. So I can speak with a little bit of, you know, I know a decent amount about religion across the spectrums, but for sake of discussion, people would at least believe that I know a decent amount about Judaism. And again, it's the same thing. Like there is the core of the religion, and there are bad players in every religion, and it gets manipulated, and they use the religion as a tool for negative as opposed to a tool for positive. It's supposed to be it's supposed to be beautiful. Like it's whether it's Torah or the Old Testament or the New Testament or any of these things, it's supposed to be about community and love and believing in a higher being. And there's a beauty to it. Again, like it or not, there's you can step away from it and say, hey, listen, if that makes you happy, it's not a negative thing. But when you use it to turn it on politics or you turn it on different things, yeah, I think that's not so cool. But again, where does that come from? They wouldn't be able to do that if people didn't feel so vulnerable. If people
Yeah,
didn't feel so empty, people would be like, "Listen, father or rabbi or imam, like, no, I'm not buying it. I'm not
yeah.
buying it. Like, I'm not into your stuff. I hear you.
These
Go tell
things are all
somebody
linked.
else.
They're
It's
all
not
linked
working."
to how people are feeling today.
Yeah. So I think that's that. Really, I think it's. You've heard me say this in all things. You got to get to the core. You got to get to the core. You got to get to the core of what is causing us as a society to be this way. And I don't have every single answer, but I think you know people have to believe that they have opportunities. People have to believe that they can have a decent life. I don't think everybody is dying to be a billionaire. I don't think everybody is dying to be famous. Like I think some people are meant to be, and some people want to be, and some people have the drive and the talent or the skill or the great, it's fantastic. But I don't think everybody's like, oh, if I'm not a billionaire, my life is over. Like the average person, most people are not thinking that, but most people are thinking like, I want to be able to have a decent life. I want to be able to have a good meal. I want to be able to have friends. I want to be able to, have
I'm going
well,
to
you
go
don't
on a
think you have
vacation. Yeah, I
yeah,
get it.
certain things, and I think this comes from this weird place, and so people are like, well, if I do this, it's one or the other, right? Either like I'm going to give up, like I'm never going to get anything, so I have no hope. So if I have no hope anyway, I might as well join these other people. At least I'm not going to be alone, and I'll be
Hmm.
in a group, and I'll be in something. I may not have all things that I really wanted to have, but at least I'll have that because I don't want to be alone. But that's not a healthy place. It's not a good thing for anybody, in my opinion.
So, why do you think people are falling for all these false narratives? And you think people are just trying to grasp onto something that feels certain?
I think that the people that are pushing these messages are very good at pushing their messages. I think they're saying things and creating stories that are not truthful at all, but they're doing them convincingly.
But people are falling for it because they're lacking that. And so because they're saying it so loudly, they're like, "Oh yes, I should follow this."
I think they fall for it for a few reasons. So I think one is that they feel they don't have anything themselves. They feel they either feel empty, they feel alone, they feel nobody understands them, they don't feel they fit in. Like they feel something like that. That's one part.
Yeah.
There's another part where they feel they have some sort of guilt that isn't. I've always said this is guilt is a wasted emotion. They've been convinced that they should feel guilty about something. It's all they've been all manipulated. I mean, every one of them. The people that feel lonely have been manipulated. All of it. It's all manipulation. I think, but
Yeah.
they feel that, so they feel like I have too much, or and so they feel this guilt, and so they try to go the other way, even though they have no intention of giving up the things that they claim to feel guilty over. Right? Like they may have money, or they may have a home or a car. They're not like they're giving that stuff up, right? But they're going to go on this bandwagon of something else because they feel guilty for what they have. It doesn't make any sense. Like if you really want to help people, then go help people. You don't have to feel guilty about it. Just go do something. Like you don't have to do these other things and hurt other people. Like that doesn't make any sense. So I think that's a big part of it. I mean, I think the COVID and various other things. We had COVID, we had the riots in our industry, we had the strikes. Like there's like one thing after the other, and then wars. Like there's a
We've
lot of
had a lot
things.
of trauma. Our
Yeah,
society has been through a lot of. I'm just. It's a revelation to me right now as I said that.
you're welcome.
We have all been through trauma without even really seeing it like that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that's there are people that know how to manipulate those things, and
Yeah.
that's where that comes from. That's just
Yeah.
where it's look as I mean, we could go on for hours on this. I'm not gonna waste everybody's time on this. But there's, for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent, people always look to America. They say America's dead, America's over. Okay, it sounds nice. Really, this is unrealistic. Okay, there's too many people here. It's too big a country. There's too much money here. America's not just going to disappear, and America's not going to all of a sudden not be a powerful country. I'm not saying the most powerful country. People are going to turn to America for what do we do in style, in technology, and even if we're not the best, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. People are going to. America is still America. The rest of the world is old, and I don't say that in a negative way. But the rest of the world is old. Okay, so the Middle East is old. Asia is old. These places are old. Latin America is old. There are people and there are customs that go back centuries. America is a couple hundred years old. We're babies. Okay? So we don't deal with things the way those other places around the world deal with things, which is fine. But when those places in the world looked to us, it started getting very convoluted, very complicated. So if you take something like 9/11, which was a really big deal, right? For America, it was a big deal. I mean, we had Pearl Harbor, which nobody really even remembers, and most of us weren't even around for. Big deal. But also, it was like, oh, it's over there. It was over there. We're not kidding. 9/11, New York City, holy shit, this is a really big deal. We haven't healed from 9/11. We didn't give ourselves time to heal and process from 9/11. You go to another country around the world that had a thing happen. I'm not talking about a 9/11 thing, but anything. They are processing. They are working through things. There's education around it. There's guidance. There's all these different things around it. So their processing is different. So everything becomes different, which is why these countries stay around for centuries and centuries, and the good and the bad and whatever. But they somehow do this because they've been trained over the years for these things. They've had these things.
They have the history. They
They have
have
history. They've had wars.
generations.
Look, when 9/11 happened, I had people reach out to me from all over the world and saying, "Are you okay? I'm so sorry." And what I heard, and some people said it, straight up said it, what I heard in a lot of those voices were, took you long enough, or welcome to the party. Because
Mm,
there were bombings in France. There were bombings in England. There were bombings in Ireland. There were bombings. They were dealing with this shit all the time.
yeah.
So we didn't have that. We had this like, we're America. Nobody's going to bother us. We're so blah. Yeah, well, and then the world said, you know what? Not really. So, but again, yes, there's trauma. Yes, there's this, whatever. But then we went on to the next thing. And then we went to the next thing.
And
So,
also, Jay, we don't know how to heal from trauma. Trauma is not easy to heal from. Most
no,
people deny that you have trauma.
correct.
So we are, I
So,
think, in denial that we have
yeah.
been through trauma a little
Yeah.
bit.
And so, same thing with COVID, right? You remember during COVID, you remember I was on calls all day, all the time. I was talking to people all over the world. And over, you would hear it, and people would say to me, I just want to go back. And I would full stop them. I'd be like, stop saying that. Stop saying that. We do not want to go back. We want to go forward. Whatever we had before got us to COVID. Whatever you want to say about, oh, they handled it wrong and everybody should have gotten sick and it would have been fine. Whatever, whatever. The reality is COVID did happen. It did happen. Something happened. Whatever it was, it happened. And the entire world pretty much shut down. So this
Hmm.
mentality of like, I just want to go back to the way it was, is bullshit. Okay. You
Yeah.
have to say, okay, whatever we did before got us to COVID. We don't want to go back to that. We want to go to something, not a new COVID. We want to go to a better place so that there isn't the next one, that there isn't the next pandemic, epidemic, disease, war, whatever. We have to be in a mindset of going forward. And it takes I would say guts is not maybe the right, I don't know the right word for it, but it takes something inside to be like, I'm going to go forward. I want to go forward. And I think if we could find a way to teach that and to learn that from early age, not so that life is negative, but so that you pick yourself up and that you strive to get to the next day and you strive to be better tomorrow than you were today, then these things will come, but you'll have that in you. It's why I always talk about why I think sports is so important to teach kids competitive sports, not just, oh, that's good. You were on the field for 3 minutes. Here's your trophy. Yeah, yay, good for you. And we're going to get ice cream afterwards. No, like the competition, the feeling of falling down and having to get up and having a teammate help you or having a coach help you, that gives you something. That gives you something inside that when life is going to throw you a curveball, like someone you care about is going to get sick, someone you know is going to have something bad happen. It's the way the universe works, and it's okay. But if
Yeah.
you learn these things and you process these things, then you can get through them. So, look, people tell me I'm optimistic when I talk bad things happen. I was like, okay, well, what are they like? Yes, I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic. Like I am
Mhm.
pragmatic, and I realize this. But I believe if everybody could take a little bit more of optimism in their life and believe that they can get to a better place, no matter what some loud talker or politician or religious authority tells you, you believe in yourself. I can make my tomorrow a little bit better. I can have a little bit of an impact. Then you have that alone. Now you don't need these other groups or people to give you validation. You give yourself the validation. It's possible. It doesn't happen
Yeah.
overnight, but a little bit of that I think is possible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's that we're surrounded by unintelligent people. I just think that everybody's tired, they're overstimulated. They really need, I think, to slow down and really have some introspection about the things that are being said and wonder why. Like let's think about things a
Yeah.
little bit and kind of let their own moral compass guide them a little bit more rather than someone who's just barking and yelling because they're loud and they're outraged. So that whatever they're outraged about must be important and it must be true. And I think we just need to like slow down. Let's slow down. Let's read a little bit.
What's that line from the Billy Joel song? Slow down, you crazy,
Crazy child.
crazy child, right? Yeah, that's no. I think that makes sense. Yeah,
I
yeah. I
think
mean, look,
when you
there's
really know yourself, you don't need someone telling you what to believe.
Yeah.
You know what to believe.
No, that's very. I think that's fair. I mean, look, it's again that's easier said than done. But I think when you just do a little bit of work every day, you see results.
Yeah,
Whatever that is. I think it's definitely possible. Yeah. Cool.
cool.
Okay. Well, wow, that was fun. No, but I think it's important. I think I
We
think
talked about like what the fuck is going on? Like, why does everyone believe
Yeah,
X, Y,
look, I
and
mean,
Z?
the
You know?
one thing I just wanted to just add to that, what you were just saying was that there, there's the loud talkers that just talk with this very loud, confident thing. Everything we're saying, if somebody really gets what we're saying here, they're going to understand. Maybe I should think twice when I hear a loud, confident talker, right? Just think for a second. I think we've pushed that. I think if people listen to this, I think they're going to say that. The other people you have to be just as careful for are the ones who are the very smooth talkers because it's so comforting and it's so warm and it's so well they sound so lovely and I'm not being negative but I think you have to be equally as cautious about those because there are those types of people that are just very smooth and very calm and they're very lovely and whatever and but they're not always that nice like sometimes some of those people are pretty snaky too so it goes back to the core of like take a beat, slow down, think about things, make your own decisions. And I think if more people
Yeah.
did
Does it
that,
does it feel right in your
yeah,
bones
yeah,
to go and protest whatever it is? Does it feel right
yeah,
to vote in this way? And do you really understand what that means?
yeah,
Does it feel right to hate your neighbor because they just like someone different than you do?
yeah, absolutely. I think
Like,
you're,
what are
yeah,
we doing?
yeah, 100%. Cool. Alrighty. Well, I think let's look at the clock. I think it's time for rapid fire.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, we've got some good ones for you this week. You think you're ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask the questions first.
Because
Okay.
honestly, I haven't thought about any answers.
That's
So
the idea, darling.
I'm
That
going to
is the
try
idea.
just to answer it when you ask it.
That's a good. It's a good way to do it,
Even
considering
though
it's
I can
rapid
see
fire.
them there.
No, don't look. Don't look. Don't
I'm
look.
not. I'm not.
Okay. What is the best compliment anyone ever gave you?
Okay. So I am going to go for when someone tells me that the things that I say out loud make her think.
Okay, that's
That
you've been given that compliment.
I have been given that compliment in various forms. And whenever I am told that, that just makes me feel really good.
Okay. You need a second. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So this is a good one. It's a good
Okay.
one. It's a tricky one. Something your parents or individual parent did that you wish you could have been the person doing without them there. Not that they went to this place and you wish you could have been got that place. No, no, they did this, and you wish you could have lived that moment you yourself personally.
This is just the weirdest answer, but I was just thinking about my dad. And when my dad was in college, he was the campus photographer. And Elvis Presley came and did a concert, and he got to meet Elvis. And I think that's so cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I would
cool.
have liked to have met Elvis and taken
So
his
you would
picture.
have liked to have been the photographer that was at.
Yeah, that would have been such a cool thing to do.
That's a good one. That's probably going to beat mine, but okay. Okay, another good one. I think if you're a performer, what would you be? And it's like the role, not like Lady Gaga or
Yeah, no.
like
I I, I would love to have been like a singer, like someone who gets out there and
someone who performs on
yeah,
stage in front of
yeah, someone who performs
20,000
on
people.
stage, bearing her soul with her music. And I have the worst voice, so
Not the
this will
worst.
never be
Not
me.
not the worst.
It's
I've heard your
pretty,
voice.
it's pretty down there.
I like listening to you. I like listening to your voice. I mean, singing, it's you know, but
No.
then there's Bjork. So
Yes. Then there's yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what to. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay. So back at you, and you know what? I'm gonna
Okay,
go.
that was a great episode, everybody. Thank you so much. Oh, no,
I'm gonna go in reverse order.
no, you're
If
not. You can't futz it around like that. You can do
okay.
whatever you want. You can do whatever you want.
I was just gonna go backwards. If you were a performer, what would you be? Movie, TV, theater actor, blah blah blah, whatever.
That'd be me. I am a performer.
Okay.
Um,
Your answer?
no, it's obnoxious. I'm joking. Obviously, it's a good question. I,
I mean, everybody thinks you're in an old rock band from the
well, I
70s.
mean, look, everybody thinks I'm in a rock band or whatever, and one girl once was 100% convinced that I actually was John Lennon. Like literally, she's like, "No, I know you're him," and I was like, I'm really not. Like he's really dead. And she's like, I know, but you're him. Like you are him. Like you are John Lennon. Like he didn't die, and you're sitting right next. She's like, oh my god, I'm sitting with John Lennon, and for the record, I did not sleep with her, but it just she was 100% convinced. Like really, really like. But in thinking about this question, like I could think of all these other things. Something says like comedian because I
Okay.
like making people laugh, and I could
Yeah.
just see that. Like I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go stand up in front of a crowd. Wouldn't do any of that crap. But I could see it was like if I was going to be, I could see that because I would get so much joy just out of making people laugh. Like that would make me feel
Yeah.
good. So I could see
Yeah. Must be
striving to do that.
so
The
incredible to
athlete
be.
is obvious, right? Athlete is obvious to have had like a great career instead of the little putsy thing that I had. But if I had to pick, I'd say probably, yeah, I'm going to go with comedian.
Okay. All right. Something your parents or parent did you wish you could have done in their place.
My father lived in Paris after the war, towards the end of the war, and after the war, and I remember him telling me that he would go out when he was in New York, similar vibe, but when he would go out in New York back in the day, his day, and go out at night and sit at a cafe in the village and like have coffee and smoke cigarettes and talk to girls. And it's like that's just so cool. Like that's just like if you look at pictures of old New York, like it's just the coolest place. Like and Paris too. Like it's just the coolest. So something like that. Like I just have this vision of sitting there. I just remember, and I've seen pictures, but I've just this vision of him sitting there with his suit and with his leg crossed and having a
Hat.
cigarette and a coffee and a hat. He had the hat. Yeah, he always had the hat. I wouldn't wear the hat, but
Right.
whatever. He was adorable.
That's
But
cool.
anyway, I could see something
I love
like
that.
that. Like there's other things that are like holy shit things. Whatever. But that would have been pretty cool. I think that would be really cool.
Okay. Last one. What is the best compliment anyone ever gave you?
That's a good question. I don't. I'm sure. I know people do give me compliments. I don't. They don't register with me. I say thank you, but I don't. Whatever. When someone says that
The
that I
greatest compliment anyone ever gave you. Come on. Answer.
yeah, it's a hard one for me, honestly. But I do remember. I mean, just trying to think of something. There was a guy that worked for me. He was a good worker, but not like a great one. Like not one of our best, but he was good. But he was difficult, and he. I think he quit or I fired him. I don't remember. Years later, out of nowhere, he reached out to me. I think we're connected on social media or something, and he's like, "I got to tell you that when I worked for you, I couldn't stand you. Like I thought you were so hard on us. You were just constantly like pushing us and pushing us and pushing us. It was never enough. And I have to tell you that it was the greatest experience of my life. It helped me in every other job I had after to know that I could be better, to know that I was better than what I was being told. I knew it. I just felt it inside. I knew it. and it changed everything in every part of my life. And that was really sweet. Like that just was like a
Beautiful.
like I wasn't mean. I wasn't intentionally mean to anybody. That's not my personality. But even times that I wasn't as calm, whatever. But that was like that was nice, and that
Yeah,
was that was nice.
that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. It was nice.
Cool. All
Anyway,
right.
all right. Well, thank you, my darling Steph, pasta person. And thank you all for joining and listening to us. We really appreciate it. And if there's ever anything you think we should talk about that you like, you can message us. You can comment on our socials on Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever, wherever or just
Or you
have a
can text me.
or send a pigeon. We love when the pigeons land on the windowsill. So just send us a pigeon, and we'll with a note, and we'll get back to you. And,
Thank
anyway,
you.
thank you all very much. Bye.
Bye. Have a great day.